A very warm good afternoon to Honorable Keynote Speaker of the Day, Principal Ma'am, dear colleagues, and esteemed participants. I, Pratibha Garg, Assistant Professor, Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida, affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, New Delhi, and convener of the FTP, feel privileged to welcome the worthy guest of the day, Dr. Renu Malviya Ma'am, on behalf of whole AI family in the third session of this 1 week online faculty development program. I heartily welcome all the esteemed participants on this virtual platform. Before we start with today's session, I request you all to please concentrate your thoughts while enchanting the Gayatri Mantra. I request Manoj sir to please play Gayatri Mantra. Thank you, everyone. Teaching is a calling too, and I have always thought that teachers, in their way, are angels leading their flocks out of the darkness. With this, I invite the holy angel and a true teacher by heart, Dr. Tanya Gupta, Principal AI, to formally welcome the honorable guest of the day.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ms. Pratibha Garg, my very worthy colleague, Assistant Professor at the Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida, and the convener of this 1 week online faculty development program. You have been very kind. I feel I'm just a learner, and I am surrounded with a lot of angels in the institute, as well as bestowed by the blessings of several um academicians whom I treat as my teachers, and one such persona, one such angel is here with us today in the form of the keynote speaker. My reverences and my warm welcome to most revered Dr. Renu Malviya ma'am, who is the head of the department and associate professor at the Department of Education, Lady Irwin College, University of Delhi. A magnanimous personality uh, to the core of the heart, very, very simple and very, very loving. I feel privileged to welcome ma'am on behalf of the Army Institute of Education, Greater Noida, which is affiliated to Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University since 2003. And the institute is envisioned to empower teachers and create teachers, the future nation builders of the country as well as of the world, under the Army Welfare Education Society. And this 1 week online faculty development program is an endeavor for our continued commitment to prepare teachers, and the topic that has been taken for this 1 week online faculty development program, as you know, is education and resilience during COVID-19 and beyond. And for the last 2 days, dear participants, we have had wonderful sessions taken on education planning during the times of uncertainty by Professor Dr. Dhananjay Joshi. And we also had yesterday a session, day 2, where we talked about enhancing resilience, resourcefulness, and innovation among the teachers, which was taken by Professor S.K. Yadav, the former head of the Department of Teacher Education at the NCRT. Today, we come with another very important aspect of education and resilience during these very challenging times of COVID-19, and that is ensuring mental health and well-being of learners, parents, and staff. And for this, I welcome Dr. Renu Malviya ma'am for being the keynote speaker and giving us the very kind consent to be with us here. Ma'am, you will be happy to know that on this forum, which is streaming live on YouTube, we have more than 1,600 participants, which encompasses a galaxy of professors, associate professors, assistant professors, and a few research scholars, as well as we have principals, coordinators, headmistress, teachers, and special educators from various schools in the country and our very own Army Public Schools. We are all looking forward to hear from you on mental health and well-being and how it can be fostered during these challenging times of COVID-19 and beyond. And dear participants, to tell you about ma'am, I do fall short of words, but yes, as to honor the keynote, of course, the keynote speaker will be introduced by our convener. But all I can say in few words is that Professor Malviya, she has been involved in numerous teacher education programs for various levels for more than 3 decades. And she has been a master trainer in different capacities. She's a family therapist. And most of her pioneering research work includes, with violence and aggression in school-going adolescents, caring for the children and the elderly, which was, a work at the ILO. And she also is interested on children's reading interests, the curriculum and development with life skills perspective, and many, many more curriculum development activities at the RCI, IGNOU, NIOS, NCRT, and the list goes on. We are very, very fortunate that ma'am is here with us today to speak on mental well-being of the teachers, the learners, as well as the staff. So once again, on behalf of the management of AI, I extend you a warm welcome, ma'am. And over to you, Pratibha Garg.
Thank you, ma'am. A teacher plants the seeds of knowledge, sprinkles them with love, and patiently nurtures their growth to produce tomorrow's dreams. And today we have such a magnanimous personality and a wonderful teacher with us, Dr. Renu Malviya. Ma'am is head of the department and associate professor at the Department of Education at Lady Irwin College, University of Delhi. Ma'am's doctoral work is in the area of family school interaction from Zakir Hussain Center of Educational Studies, JNU, New Delhi. Ma'am have a diploma in the management of learning disabilities from SNDT University, Mumbai, and a certificate in professional practice aspects of learning difficulties for children and young people with disabilities from Roehampton University, UK. Ma'am, areas of special interest are teacher education, reading interest of children, and specific learning disability and inclusive education. Ma'am wants to open a resource center for children, teachers, and parents wherein there would be material for eliciting the best from each and every child. The major supporters of the child, namely the teachers and the parents, would be closely associated with that. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are looking forward for an interactive session on ensuring mental health and well-being of learners, parents, and staff. The platform is all yours, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Pratibha, for you putting me on such a high pedestal. I don't deserve so much of say praise. I thank you, the entire management of AIE, the principal, Dr. Tanya, the principal of AIE, and all her team for having me on this platform. And I look forward to having an interactive session with the 1600 participants and everyone else. How do we do that is going to be a challenge, but we will do something about this. We have the chat box with us also. I look forward to the session not as a person who's giving some information, but I want to take, I'm sure to take back a lot of learning from here, as we have done through the COVID, and we continue to do with that. So, the topic which has been assigned to me today is education and resilience during COVID 19 and beyond. And that's what I look forward to. COVID 19 has a challenge, it has given us opportunities, it has made us rethink, re reflect, do so much. And what are we going to take from here to the new normal? Things what we consider to be normal has suddenly become, I mean, it's become so questionable. A simple thing that all human beings, if you're feeling uncomfortable, please go and hug the other person. Chappi, which was that movie that we were talking about, where Chappi Dena is so important. And this was, and suddenly you're saying you can't even touch the other person. Forget about touching the person, you need to be at least 2 arms length away. And now you put this on to children with special needs. We'll come to that later on. The children, the so called, all of us have special needs. But how very different it's becoming for everyone. And it's going on and on and on. So let us just try and see. And we hear this said that barely this has happened the first time on the history of Earth. No, if you look at all the different type of situations that have kept emerging over the centuries, they say that every 100 years, humankind lands up doing so many things that we land up with having some pandemic or the other. Sometimes I feel maybe are we doing it? Are we not following the sustainability issues which UN has put across? Are we not being kind to nature? Is that causing so many of these things? Is where I start with. And I start with this first question, reflection to be taken forward after we are off the platform today. So even if you go back and look at the pandemics way back into the 80s, you had the yellow fever, then you had the plague, then you had cholera, then you had the Great Plague, and then you had smallpox and the bubonic plague, and then other plagues, and so Spanish flu, SARS. So these have been emerging again and again. The first thing, when you're talking about mental health, when you're talking about why are we getting so mentally stressed, it's the fear, it's the worry, it's the stress, it's the perceived threats and the uncertainty, and also the actual threats which are causing us and the entire disruption of our daily life schedules. There was a particular structure which was taught across the generations. You get up in the morning, then you do this, then you go out for work. The work for students is studies, and for others this is this, and the whole thing has got disrupted. The term work from home was a new term which I'd heard just a couple of years back. Now suddenly, work from home is what we are doing all the time. But nobody taught us how to balance things across during this work from home. And technology, of course. So now, when we look at the challenges, which, but human, before I go to the challenges, let's also go to the point that human beings are they're able to take up new situations and are able to change fast and cope with new situations. Therefore, we have survived the generations, the centuries, and so on and so forth, and been able to be the highest, most evolved sister animals. We are animals in the entire ecosystem of the globe, of Earth, Mother Earth. We're talking about when the challenges came in. It was the fear, the worry, the stress, suddenly disconnectivity, breaking of all our over the centuries developed over the century, I'm saying, because before century there was something else there, norms of how we interact with each others were suddenly overnight broken, and the threats were actual threats, and also we had the perceived threats. ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा, now came in. So why was these challenges happening? They were happening because the allocation of resources suddenly went haywire. The amount of allocation of resources to technology that we were giving in was very minuscule. Suddenly it required more time. The amount of resource, psychosocial resource that we were focusing on, interaction with each other, closeness, communication with each other's, gossips. And gossips are also a way of non classroom learning. When children interact with each other of what has been happening in the classroom, what ma'am or sir taught today, and they go out during the period, during the sports period or the recess, or when they're traveling back home, and they joke about it, they learn that much better. Everything broken. Those spaces overnight just moved away. The space that you require for people, human beings who are in a certain developmental stage. If you leave me all the time with only 10-year-olds, they'll get fed up of me, and I wouldn't know how to behave like a 10-year-old after a particular period of time. I need people with gray hair like me, oldies, and where we can talk about what used to happen, this is what the changes are, and blah blah. Similarly, those 10-year-olds need their spaces, their groupings, everything broken. Space of work overnight changed. Leisure, you didn't know what to do for leisure. The children couldn't go out. What do they do with their physical work? Family enmeshment. There was space for the children to move away from their parents when they were in school. So they didn't have to be with the over empowering parents, the adults. They love their parents. They can't do without their parents, but they needed their space. The parents needed their space. The spouses needed their space. Everyone now, suddenly there was this whole physical and psychosocial space enmeshment. Even where you sit in a room, when we interact. So all of you are here. There has been this family. There's going to be a webinar. To please this room, nobody's going to come in. These things are not going to happen. Now I can dictate adult, the child finds it so difficult. All of you, many of your teachers and school principals and coordinators and others in the school system. And simple thing, you will find that the child is not unmuting themselves, they're not putting on the video on, and if you're getting angry, and the problem is the lady who's mopping the floor, the house, is going back and forth, and the child finds it so visiting. How can I tell the teacher that if I open the video, this would be visible? Now, suddenly you got to tell the child, somehow we have to have that rapport with the child, and the child should be able to come and say, Ma'am, kya karu main? What am I supposed to do just now? Right? But the child finds it's a big challenge for that particular child at that point of time. And suddenly you have the whistle of the pressure cooker coming at the back, and the child doesn't know. My God, it's such a big problem for that particular little child. And it sort of spoils the entire self-esteem, confidence of that particular child. Now, work from home has suddenly become a reality and the only possibility. And then as I said just now, the physical, the social contact, perceived and non-actual uncertainties imposed social distancing, but it at no point meant that social isolating self. So when this thing came, the social distancing, it took us some time to realize it's physical distancing, it's not social distancing. And this is what, so see how one, as teachers, as professors, as principals, we know a little word not used appropriately can create so much of chaos. So now, even the word social distancing probably had to be coined overnight, because Corona never gave us time to have meetings and decide which terms are we going to use probably across the world. So social distance, the word they must have thought of at that point, somebody, okay, social distancing. So it went from India to China, China to India to wherever else. These Chinese. Okay, so then coming in here. So the social distancing should probably be physical distancing, but it has led to social isolation. So as teachers, as professors, as teacher trainers, teacher educators in the teacher training colleges, we need to reinforce that. If I can't come physically and hug my peer, my friend, but I can be on Facebook and do a high five and do that one thing here on Facebook at least, and visualize for myself that actually our hands are meeting. Jyoti ma'am and my hand is meeting, doing a high five. Or Pratibha ma'am is my hand is, we're doing a high five, we're doing that thing. What is that? How do we do it? I've forgotten the whole way of doing that. Yeah. Okay. So, and then I don't know how it turns around and then you do it. Now imagine this. So can we do these type of things here? So we try to do that. So now we're coming to persons with special needs, children with special needs. Imagine the people who are trained are the rehabilitation professionals, the special educators, and suddenly the entire onus of how to handle that has gone on to the parents. And these rehabilitation professionals and the special educators and the regular teachers too have to now connect with the parents. Parents are not trained. They might be trained doctors, engineers, architects, management persons, top of their profession, but that their training is there, not here. And suddenly you expect them to do this. And what do we do? How do we manage that? Technology, overnight, 15 minutes probably before the lockdown started. You're supposed to go to the library, collect material. I go on to Google. I find good material sometimes I don't get good material. For somebody who didn't even know enough, of course I knew, but I know of many people who would find it difficult to put their finger on delete, because they would think, that the entire laptop would get deleted. Have to now teach online. What do you do? And all the innovative teachers and professors that we have, and you have them on YouTube. You have a mobile which has been strung onto strings, and they're taking classes. Now, when I talk about these challenges, look at our little ones, look at our teacher interns, look at our in-service teachers. And I would like to tell you the example of this little boy, class 7th, I think. So one of the sessions that I was taking on with these children, and they said, my teachers have now learned quite a bit of technology. Now they are able to take their classes slightly better. And I said, wow. So when I started this, I said, please, I am not the person who is saying anything, but I'm going to be learning a lot from here. I wonder if there are chats coming in. Okay, very challenging. So there aren't many questions coming in just now here. So I can continue. No detailed support from peer. It becomes just now, Dr. Tanya, while we were off air, we were not visible to the public. Wonderful principal and wonderful faculty very nicely told me, look up on the right hand top corner. You will find a private chat. You will find a comment. Click on private chat. Now look at you require skills. The people, see the skills we need to develop as professionals. I often come across somebody telling someone on the webinar, please click on the leave button. It's down there. Can't you see? When I used to do it then, now I'm slightly better. I love to say that I think I can get passing marks. Yes, when you go down, and if you don't go at a particular position, that particular string doesn't appear. So you cannot see that leave button, and it's not written leave there. It is like a telephone, the old time telephone thing, and that is leave. Now you're saying it's a leave button. So how we need to now develop skills to be able to accurately say that. And here comes in, I sometimes think, children, persons, individuals on the autistic spectrum disorders would do wonderfully, because they would be very clear. This is exactly what it is, not people like us who are not very good at giving instructions. So social, and this led to depression, social dysfunctioning, and those small spaces also led to a lot of violence in families, domestic violence, people who did not react physically. Forget about those people who were prone to react physically, got a chance to do it worse. But even those people who were prone not to do it, also because of those frustration of limitation of space, have been doing it. There's been so much of increase in violence. We have helplines. Universities have opened up mental health counseling with the names on the main website. My name is also there. So I don't know how many calls I get. And then the children will tell me, even to the point, So they have a problem with admissions. They'll say, but ma'am, that's also, see, look at the creativity of children. They will come in, of young adults, or even for children. They will telephone and say, but ma'am, that's also a mental health problem, no? I can't handle it. So I am getting stressed. So please, you have to help me. And I just think, oh yeah, I never thought about that way. Right? So here is, can you imagine there are people, young adults, who are going back to their villages? Online issues, they cannot get it. They do not have technology enough for it. Okay? But also, they're getting back into that system. This young adult who came in, 20-year-old, boy, sobbing away, saying, ma'am, they're getting me married. I had to really stretch myself. And it's a boy's voice. I said, Beta, what's your name again? I asked, because I wasn't very clear. So the name was a very boy name. So here is see how many other issues are emerging because of this and deaths which are happening and not being able to is there. Now, so these are the challenges that we are talking about. Are there any opportunities that we are emerging from here? The opportunities that I see that we are getting are life skills. I never thought I could be so creative and innovative. And all of us, I'm sure, would raise your hands and say, yes, I had no option to be but creative and innovative. And I'm sure majority of you would say be saying, it's very exactly Renu Kanwar. It is as a special educator, it is so challenging. But now, when we used to talk about CBR, talking, interacting with families, initially there was this whole thing about, families, parents and families on one side and the school system on the other side. Now we are able to connect. And I don't want to leave this opportunity of my interaction and my connection with the child's family, which I have been able to evolve thanks to this COVID. So, in a way, I worship COVID for this, but I want him or her, whoever it is or it, to please go away. But yes, even at the college and university system, where parents hardly interacted with the faculty, we have started having PTMs. And it's so amazing. They're so happy. We are so happy. And we are able to talk about, this daughter of mine does this. I said, yeah, the same type of problems. But see, they are adolescents, they are young adults. So we are able to connect together. And so here is this wonderful connection which is happening. The number of MOOC courses and information which has been opened up by universities, by school systems, by special education systems, centers across the world onto the net is amazing. I don't know if you people have done it. I have two hard disks with me. What I have done is I've downloaded so much of material because when the COVID goes away, maybe Harvard University and Stanford University, or that wonderful center on autism or dyslexia across the world, global, might take back their material. There is so much of MOOC courses that I have been exposed to, and my students tell me that they have collected so much of insight and material. They're over busy now. Earlier, they used to say, "Ma'am, we're getting bored." I said, "What bored? Go and do that course there." So I came across some courses and we did that. I come across school principals and I come across school teachers and I come across professors. Instead of writing books, they are doing such wonderful videos they're making and putting it on YouTube's. And the gain has also been for those learners who had somehow fallen off the net. Because here is this wonderful expert school teacher of grade 4 who has put in her YouTube of her classroom teaching of a particular subject. And this child who's in class 9 now never understood photosynthesis or whatever is taught in class 4 is able to understand that better. We ask them, but they never have their audio system at place. Okay, we're talking about here is when we talk about the rethinking, the reflection. There was a time when we used to tell our students who were going to be young teachers, there used to be a scooty which used to come for 5,000 rupees at that point of time. And we used to tell them, And we didn't have Maruti. We just had Maruti at that point, and cars were so expensive. So we used to tell them from your first salary, and the salaries were not in thousands, were not in, I mean, many thousands. They were in a few thousands. We used to tell them 1 month, the first month's salary goes for entertainment, enjoyment. Second month's salary goes to buy that scooty. Now, can we also try and do that? Because this technology is here to stay. Blended learning will not go away now. We have seen the advantages. I'm just here. I didn't have to waste time traveling this way, that way, and all the cost of traveling, all the cost of having to stay at some particular place is just this much of time that I have to spend in the comfort of my home, provided I have been able to find the spaces within the family system. So those advantages will be there. So are we spending enough on the tool that we require now is technology? Also coming in here is when we talk about, we had online summer in placement for our teacher training. We realized in certain areas there was just one smartphone which came in, which was with the father, a particular father, and no other smartphones in the entire locality. It could be a slum area, it could be a village somewhere, and the smartphone came home when the father came home. So we got the children to collect with their mask on at 8 o'clock at night. And so this is how, we need to be innovative. And talking about the evaluation system, yes, it is a very challenging task. The university that I come from, University of Delhi, we had to continuously, we had lakhs of students, and our online mock test had to be repeated 1, 2, 3 times. But we did it, and I'm finding that so many other universities are doing it. I do understand technology is at a problem. So, as a teacher, I need to not only upgrade myself, I also need to, first of all, like the aeroplane thing, I need to first put the mask on myself and then help others. I need to be an online learner all the time. Even I thought, I'm going to retire after a while. अब तो मुझे सब कुछ, I know everything and I don't have to learn. And then this COVID comes and I am the most slow learner in my entire department faculty because I'm the senior most. And I am the one, but now I think I can jolly well get very good marks. I think first grade 75% ho jayega, but I started with almost zero. Whereas my other younger faculty were amazing, but they were such a great help. They were so helpful. But probably I also had a rapport with them, no? So therein comes the need. Principals are doing amazing job. CBSE is doing an amazing job. Principals are catching the teachers, the teaching, having so many online training programs. And so we need to be disturbing this. PTM has become interesting for mothers because they can talk to respective subject teachers without disturbing their husbands. They're catching, oh, why do you not want to disturb your husbands? Okay, the husbands had to take leave and go to school. Okay, but I'm sure our teachers in schools and colleges are also smart. They do not put the whole onus on one parent. They put it on both the parents. Both the parents have to be present on the online PTM and get the grandparents on into it also. So now is the advantage, the opportunity of taking this on here. Other, of course, is the breakup of. Please let me know, Dr. Tanya, when I have to stop.
नहीं मैम, you
No,
can
ma'am, you
continue
can
मैम
continue,
please.
ma'am, please.
Okay, okay. Now, when we're talking about parents as a support, the planning, the child, and also the parent. I recall this young faculty student of mine who had just joined, and during after her first PTM, she came back almost with tears and bewilderedness back to college. Ma'am, they are such senior parents, and they ask me these questions. And I think they're making fun of me. I said, no, beta, they're not making fun of you. You are trained. They do not, you have to, ma'am, this parent asked me, should my child go off to sleep at a particular time? At 9 o'clock used to be the time at that point of time. And they don't even know this. I said, obviously, they do not know this. Parenting is the first child for them. Nobody taught them parenting. They don't have a certificate or diploma or degree in parenting. There are no degrees in parenting. But you have a thing. So herein, our teachers in the school system, our professors in the college are actually supporting the parents, planning the day not only for the child, but also supporting the parents and the family to plan the day in such a way that the child's schedule, timetable, and the family timetable now merges together. Earlier, it was also that way, but the merging was different. So, herein is what we need to do. And the teachers, the professors, the school principals, multitasking has been no, is a part of our being, but it has become too much for us. It's around the clock for us. How are we planning that system for us? How are we putting off our online technology, digital devices off for 1 hour or so? Because we often find across that we are working deep into the night, which we probably were doing earlier, but it's going deeper and deeper now. Yes, exactly. Parenting is an art, somebody writes, and you learn on the job. Nobody trains you for it. And again, with more and more nuclear families now, the issue is that we as adults, young adults, just got married, have not seen children growing up. Because in joint family, in extended family, when communities, neighborhood were family, you had exposure to children of different stages, which many of us do not have any longer. Teaching net issues is a possibility, is a reality as of now. But thanks to all our software engineers and hardware engineers, there has been changes that are happening. I recall in the beginning, we would say, please, everyone, all the students, we need to see your videos, and the students couldn't put their videos on. Now we don't ask them to do that. We just ask them to open. Can you do it? Okay, you can't do it. Audio. You can't, even the audio is not working, the chat box. Even the chat box is not working. Bring your mobile here. Speak to me on the mobile while you're listening to me. I want that answer. Bring the mobile here. See how many different innovative ways we are doing that. So here is what we want. So what are we talking about? The comfort zones have broken. We as principals, as teachers, as professors need to rethink the comfort zones. And also, we need to learn from our students. I am learning the entire philosophy, what I thought were the principles of living are suddenly changing because my student says, ma'am, why do you need to do this at this particular time? Why can't you do it at this particular time? I said, no, okay, yeah. But I still need to sleep at night and not be sleep in the daytime. Okay. So that is what. So we have had now online practice teaching as, and the type of material and the teaching learning material and the reflections that we are being able to have this has increased far more. When we talk about, so here it is so engaged now that mental health issues are getting lesser and lesser for them, because they, now the problem is the mental health issues are happening because they have more work than they can handle. So we have to tell them, please put a full stop somewhere. So what I need to say is, then again, when we go into the villages, we have the children, the centers which are working with special education. And one of the professors, a very senior person, was telling us, who works deep into the villages in special education, was informing me that, you know, the traditional ways of coping with stress, the traditional knowledge of our country, be it massaging, be it something else, be it the games that we used to play, are understood more by the parents who are not so educated. And they are able to catch on to what he said. He wants to tell them more because that was the traditional knowledge that we had. Somewhere we have lost out on that traditional knowledge. So when we go on to the net to find out solutions for our mental health issues, please also remember that are those issues, those solutions for our type of society? And there's nothing wrong with our society. We're perfect. We were a community society. So are we able to do that? When we're talking about mental health issues, and just as I said, we need to have platforms for closed platforms also, wherein you remember the teachers in the staff room, especially principals, will have are doing it. They're getting the teachers together on platforms. So, you know, we used to have the staff room tea time when the teachers came in and they said, "Oh my God, that particular child in my classroom, I can't handle him. What happened?" And the teacher would say, come and sit here. Here's that cup of tea. Please drink this tea." By the time you finished that tea, you were okay. No, no, he's not so bad. So here was this little hand holding which was being done by the other. So, can we have these online groups now, which are closed groups? We can also have the very Indian teachers groups where we can talk about our type of things. You know, if maybe if we have groups from other South Asia groups also, our culture is different. Oh, that husband of, I think, 24/7, this student, this a friend of mine who is from the other end of the globe, says, she says that all of you keep talking about your husbands and your wives, that they're such horrible people, but you never, I mean, let them go. Oh, suddenly struck me, yeah, 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 yeah. Until unless in a day I can't say two things about what my husband's not good at, my day is not made. But I can't even say the word I love him because nobody told me that I'm supposed to love my husband. But I love him now. So see, here is that cultural variations which are very, very different. So we need those groups. And these, as of now, have to be those coping strategies for our own group, online grouping till we can be offline again. We also need these groups for our students where they interact with each other and there is a teacher somewhere at the back who is invisible in the group. Invisible meaning is not interacting, is a non participant observer. In the school system, we had this now. You had the recess time, you had other time when the students were together, but there was somebody supervising from somewhere else. There was an adult supervising all the time. But they had their nooks and corners where they could discuss things. So we are not getting those spaces here. So here is what I would like to say. Are there any suggestions that are coming in? Any things that you would want to think? So when we are talking, please do ask me, stop me, and you're most welcome to ask. Okay, here is Call Ma'am saying that how do we overcome with the challenges of the present situation? How do we prepare them for new start as physically when a child is not with us? How to connect with them? Connect is it when the child is not with us. Now we need to connect through the parents probably. We need to connect with whatever technology the child is able to reach. And it is a challenge, sure enough. The orientation programs, which used to be for a little time, are going stretching into days. And the preparation, it's the first time it's happening. So here is that what are we saying is that we need to connect. And all of us, as whatever, if it is a pre-nursery teacher, knows what a pre-nursery child is looking for, how to connect with that child, the psychosociology of that child, how the parents need to be connected with that child, how do we get the parent. We are online with the little one, 3.5, 4 month, 4 year old, and the parents, you will not talk for 5 minutes. Okay, will you go out of the room for 2 minutes and come back? The parents will not be able to leave the child. They were not able to leave the child even when the child was in the school system. You literally had to shoo away the parents now at that point also. But can you, with your assertiveness, not aggressiveness, get them to go for a little while to the other room? And you can always find out. आप नहीं गए थे ना, पीछे डोर के पास खड़े थे ना, right? And the parent will smile back at you. So that much, as a trained teacher, we know how to handle that. So this is where now the new start, if this is going to be about, we had the Daisy books earlier, remember, where the teachers, we have to have an online session for parents to learn technology. And why not have an online session for grandparents to learn technology? There'll be so much of support. Why not tell the mother, the grandmother, she can sit in that room, right, and listen to what is happening while you are doing some other chore. And this can only be possible when the grandmother can also interact with the teacher. I know teachers are over text, the number of telephone calls that are coming, my ear, my God, right? But if the mother feels comfortable in letting the mother-in-law interact with the teacher, you've done a great job. Is anyone ready to take up these challenges? And what about the father-in-laws? What about the grandparents, the nana nani, and the husband too? So here comes in, we're talking about how do we come over the challenge of continuous evaluation, examination through online. My skills, I did not know how much I did not know skills as a teacher. I thought, my girls, I could tell them everything. Me, the great teacher, educator. But when it came to continuous evaluation, when I was able to give my students, my teacher interns the freedom to challenge me. But ma'am, why do we need to do this? And it didn't hurt me. I realized, okay, then you tell me. And many a times they came up with good answers. If a project is being made, can the project be made right there? And it has to be from zero cost material. Now that zero cost material, you You bring the material there. The children show you newspaper, old twigs that they picked up from outside, whatever else. Okay, now you are going to make a windmill out of this. That's what is coming to my mind. And while you're demonstrating that, the windmill is connected with the theory lesson that you had taught in one of the EVS classes. So you start off with this. We'll be coming back after half an hour. You can switch off your mobiles. You can switch off your laptop, your online. It's not here. And after half an hour, we connect again. Now, that is not enough time for the parents to come in and do the job. And when they come in with whatever horrible things that they've been able to make, some of them would have done very creatively, and then we assess them. Let's have an assessment done by the students right there, where they do not give marks, but they develop the criteria on which you are grading them. So, see, I know it's a long term process. And I keep wondering, why are school teachers not researchers? Globally, school teachers are also researchers. This is not the platform for advertising, but many teacher education programs have started having conferences and research call for papers from school teachers because of this, where they develop that into a research component, publish that paper too. And school principals are there, they're always supportive of these type of things. And if you can convince the school management, and why wouldn't they? So when you are doing this, you know there's going to be one big advantage for me also. I will also put in more effort into that. My engagement will increase. My problem of why am I being burdened with so much will also decrease. My mental health issues will also be lesser there. So, when we talk about, we also need to have the relaxation for our mental health, the physical components, which students have had a very big problem with, is physical activities. And we also have had to have a lot of problems with that. Of course, we have the indoor play, the relaxation exercises, yoga and meditation, aerobic exercises, prayer. It was so soothing. Just now, when we started with a prayer, it gave us that space to move from one to the other. Whatever chanting is made to get the brain relaxed, get the body to calm down. And if we can do this, creative, positive thinking, you know, our teachers, our principals, our professors, I do not think we have always been talking in hush words. Everyone's saying that COVID is a time of challenges only. But we have found so many opportunities in that. And the hope. If we can't read, can we get that information through video and films and through YouTube? Also give the relevant good video connection links for our students where required, so that they do not go on to other things. Other point that I would also love to say here is, when we have these online resources, we also read Mills and Boons now, right? Our teachers knew that we were reading Mills and Boons now, right? They did speak about it sometime, but they interacted and discussed about many other novels more. So let's do the same with our YouTubes and videos and etc. So that the children are engaged. Tomorrow, when ma'am is going to talk about this particular thing, I will be able to speak about this and I'll do this. So you're moving them gradually, one aspect from the negative components of the web onto the other. And the need for grandparents and parents to be upgraded with the latest technology. is highly important. Online courses, not only for teachers and parents, not only for teachers and professors and researchers and coordinators and school principals. What about those online courses for Nani and Dadi? Okay, what about that online course that Nani can do? Imagine Nani, Dadi making a online courses of those laddus. क्या करना है? That little 10-year-old class 4, class 5 child can get the will be able to make a video for her, and all you have to see is get it uploaded onto the school website. You will have your website space will go all haywire. You will have to take in more space there. I know. So this is what I would like to say is, so I'm just looking up the chats and the comments and seeing, oh wow, thank you. I meditation and mental health. Yes, wonderful. So teachers as researchers, every school, I think, now this is the time. Go back to your school system. Say, I am going to be the editor of not the school magazine only, but I am going to be the editor of the research magazine of my school. So let's have a research magazine of each school. Leave these professors behind. They keep talking about all these ISBN and whatnot. The school should take over. And I was just wondering, why are not the school system connecting with the different different departments of the university system? I know teacher education departments and the school system, we work together. But there's so many other departments in the university system. If the university system departments are not coming to the school, let the school go to the university departments and do research together. And can you imagine all the mental health issues would fly away? They'll be they'll be on the other end then when we're going to talk about. Please tell us how to stop ourselves. We've got so much of work to do. Our mental health problem is that we need to bring down the material. So if I stop here and if I uh, stop here, what I would like to say is that the mental health issues emerge from the fear, the uncertainty, the not knowing what to do, our issue with our planning, the actual threats, and the uncertain perceived threats. If we can handle that again, replan and reschedule, make timetables which are again very different, and take along everyone. We in the education system, academic system, work on team systems. We don't work individually. I'm told, I don't know if I'm correct, that the whole concept of Yahoo was developed by the students in the university. You will find that students in the colleges, even school children, they do not really know the concept of not sharing. We only teach them not to share. And they will do their assignments, give it to the other person and to the other person, and in no time it is all over. And as school teachers and as college teachers, when we are correcting assignments, we have seen the same mistake in 10, 15 different assignments. So the sharing has happened. So probably they are very good at teamwork. And we also are very good at teamwork. So one of the way of removing ourselves is to learn new things, be sure of where we are good at, and Also, being able to know where we are not good at, accept it. And when we are in a team, this is my expertise. Here I am learning, and here I've written music. Don't ask me to be the music in charge, the singing in charge. No way can I do it. I know it, but I can be on the team to organize other things. So that is what we can do is, okay, here somebody says that the university systems have research centers. Why are they not doing or applying research on the issues of connecting with school system, or why school system is not depending on the researchers of higher educational institutions? There are books. Professor Chandna had written a book, but which is a Sage publication. I'm not remembering the entire, but it's about bridging the gap between the university, starting from the preschool to the highest university levels. And all the papers are there on how the system is. And what is taught in teacher education or in the physics department at the postgraduate level or the postdoctoral level has to percolate down to how it is being taught. The first seed of that concept is being put at the pre-nursery level. How important it is to connect. Now, I would also like to say here is why, because all of us are so busy into our own wells. We don't want to look out of our wells. We're so happy there because it is moving away from your comfort zone. It is spending more time to interact with another system that you are not comfortable with. I'm more comfortable with my system than being in the school system. I'm comfortable because I'm in the teacher education program, but not as comfortable. I used to tell many of the principals once, and I did that when I was younger, that I wanted to be for 1 week in class 4 and be a class 4 teacher. Oh my God, it was so difficult. And here I was training teachers. So, but it was I had to break that comfort zone. I did it once. I've not been able to break that comfort zone again. Whose limitation? Mine. I needed to break those comfort zones. So here is now we are going to connect. The school teachers and the school principals are going to connect with the university people. We are going to do research with you. And we do not know the type of research that you people do. We only know action research. And the university system, let's connect with the school system. Instead of saying, oh, they do not know how to write a citation. They wouldn't know. But the type of practical information that they are in, they're practitioners, you wouldn't be able to get that information. Let's connect. So this is a very pertinent question that Kavita ma'am has put in here, that why aren't we connecting more? We will, I'm sure. So coming back to the comments, are we having any more comments here? And so I was informed that I need to probably stop at 3:15, and it is 3:15. Dr. Tania, I could go on and on.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You can continue, ma'am, please. If you have
Okay.
taken questions in between, थोड़ा सा if you want to add on something, आप बता दीजिए,
हाँ,
ma'am. In the meantime, I will
okay.
take the questions. हाँ जी, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So, when the questions I've been taking in here,
Okay, ma'am. Right, ma'am.
I don't know. Whatever you say, I can continue for some time if you want. If it's okay, both ways for me.
Right, ma'am.
Right, ma'am means.
आप थोड़ा सा बस
Con-
मैम बता दीजिए, हाँ कंक्लूड कर दीजिए, so that, हाँ जी.
Okay, okay, okay,
उसके बाद I
okay,
will ask once again if any participant wants to ask something, फिर we will
okay,
end up. Right,
okay,
ma'am. Thank
okay.
you.
This has also been a time for uncertainty and worries related to finance, childcare, elderly care, job insecurities. And we, as teachers, as professionals, have had to hold, handhold children and their families. And so here was a child who had the latest technologies all this time and suddenly refuses to unmute oneself. I am a trained professional. I need to understand what's happening. I need to probe. I need to ask. आजकल पापा घर से काम करते हैं, नहीं अब तो वो कंप्यूटर भी नहीं चला रहे हैं. So suddenly here I know there's an issue there. If I want my child to learn, my job as a teacher is to reach out and get the best out of each child. I am left with no option but to understand the mental health and other stresses within the family. I also need to, I am not a trained counselor. I am not a trained family therapist. But as a school teacher, as a college professor, I know how to work in teams. So I work in teams where I interact, develop a team where I'm talking about the issues in my classes. And when I see about this suddenly this, remember when we were offline, we used to say, I don't know what's happened to this particular child. He's not paying attention any longer. He was so active. He used to talk. Is he doing his homework assignments? Yeah. All his assignments are all right. But he doesn't, in the class, he's not chirpy any longer. And then there were 3 more teachers who would say, even in my class, the same thing is happening. And then somebody would come into the staff room. You don't know. His mother has been hospitalized. Suddenly, so see, this was a group work that was happening. Can I do that? Other is, do I also have a group for myself where I can, when we used to be in schools and colleges, we would come over and say, what happened that today I got late because of the 3-wheeler, or the traffic light, which was for 1 minute, has not suddenly turned into a 10-minute red light. And I was able to see these things. Those spaces have gone away. Do I need to have those spaces here? Yeah, so that we can also be able to do this. I was looking at a YouTube which was being circulated in one of our groups, and here is the school teacher who's talking about something like, she says, when the screen, students, when the screen used to go black, I used to think, something's happened. And all the children were laughing, and she was also laughing about it. And the students, young students, were telling her, this was a stressor for the teacher, which is so important that we are somewhere not being able to fill in here. So keen observation of my students is required. Mindful use of social media, teaching my students, myself, to use the social media mindfully. I got hooked on to the serials. I started watching one serial, the other, and then suddenly all of them were important to me. And I was telling my family, my child would say, you are watching the television more than you're working on the computer. And I was justifying myself. No. That's only in the background. Till I was able to tell myself, Renu Malvia, you're doing this deliberately. The child in you is coming out. So I had to stop myself and do the mindful use of social media. So we have a whole timetable for my child, for myself, for the parent, and see how much time are we giving for what. And so here comes in the maximum productivity, but in a different learner centered, technology centered way. Workstations move around. How often do we need to move around within the house and outside, and so on and so forth? And many of our activities need to be when we ask a child to go step out of the house. Now we can and do those activities outside. So you're getting the leaves. The child has to take a video of the leaf and the tree and whatever and show it in the class next day. So this is what I would like to conclude, that if COVID has been creating a lot of mental health challenges, it is for us to make them into opportunities also. Also, we are not going to put under the carpet the issues that are there. We speak about them, we bring them out. WHO, NIMHANS, and other departments which deal with mental health and psychiatry, the Ministry of, which is the ministry which deals with family welfare, right? The Ministry of Family Welfare, and there's a word which I'm missing out here, has also brought out such wonderful material for us to read. Life skills, which WHO and CBSE have been working on, also need to be done. And our pedagogy, our Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, IASC also. And we need to be able to read these all. So thank you, one. Thank you all for all the patient hearing. I hope it has not been too a boring session or too much of a repetition.
Not at all, ma'am. Not at all. It was such a wonderful session and a very interactive one because you took the questions in between. So everybody was feeling like they are connected with the session. Although you have taken almost all the questions, hardly one, two questions I can see here in the chat box. I'll just read it for you, ma'am. One is from Soni Singh. Miss Soni Singh. She's asking how to identify the mental health of child during online classes.
Yes, yes. You know, how to identify? There are two set of children that we have. The ones who were with us offline earlier. So we already had a connect with them. The other is a group which has just come in and we have never had an offline connection with them. So let me first take the students, the learners, whether be it school children, be it college students, okay, or even others. The ones we had known earlier, so we know their characteristics, we know why they're not doing. So in that case, if you find there's a change in characteristic, do not hesitate to pick up the phone, interact with them. And you know the saying, "Ab meri class mein answer nahi karte ho," is not the way. You got to need to ask them something else. I just wanted to ask you, the way you are able to handle technology, or how do you do that? That particular project that you were making, where did you get that material from? Because now the markets are not are closed when the markets were closed, or something, something like that, and get into a conversation with the child. Other is when there's a child in your class who was not so aggressive, who did not answer back as much as they're doing it now, catch on to this. Who is asking questions which are not questions related to the subject matter, insisting on, or even related to the subject matter, insisting too much on that, means the child is under stress. Who is dropping out? One could be dropping out because of connectivity issues. Other is dropping out of the session, coming back in and out, and there isn't a connectivity issue. So you need to work on that. Who is taking a lot of time to unmute? Again, is it because of connectivity issue or the other issue? Need to also understand I had this girl in my class. When I asked a question, she wasn't answering. And these are young adults now. So after a while, it went on and on and on. I said, what's the problem? Why aren't you answering? And I, in a way, was not acting like a mental health professional. But these are the exact sentences which I said. And she started crying. I had to connect with her. The problem was that the connectivity issue was causing my questions to reach her after a long period of time, much longer than it should be. And she did not want others to know that she has a connectivity issue. Maybe her phone was not smart enough. The other girls have no problem telling me, ma'am, I can't afford a smartphone. And there are connectivity issues. But this girl does. So is that the issue that is coming in there? When you're asking them to unmute, or when you're asking them to put the video on, if all of them can't do it, ask them, but for a split second, why don't you put the video on? I just want to see how you're looking today. I need to see your smile. There's so much that can be told about the particular situation that's happening. I just saw this here. There's something which was putting out there. Uh, there's so much that is happening in the system. You can see what is at the back, right here, isn't it? So here comes in, you can understand what are the various things which are happening in the background. That's another way of connecting with the family and the child to pick up those. Is a child, now comes in the child you have not known long enough. And that particular, or never. Now is the child age appropriate characteristics, one. Second is the child not answering? Is the child getting upset fast, crying, or overreacting? Are some of the things which will lead you to understand that there are mental health issues happening there. Do I answer the question?
Thank you. Should I take it?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, ma'am. This is from Miss Monica Deswal. She's asking how to deal with a child who is facing domestic violence.
Who is facing domestic violence? You know, one is we did a study once, and it said it was, and we wanted to find out how many children are getting slaps and all. This was about 20 years back. And we said, अपने ही तो बच्चे को मार रहे हैं ना, किसी और की तो नहीं, हम उसका, we care for that child, therefore we're beating the child. It's a very South Asian thing. Now, the parents feel we're doing for the good because this is how it was happening earlier, probably. That's one reason. The other is the parents are under a lot of stress. The third is there is some major issue. So the two ways of doing this is first, if I have a connectivity with the family. Often teachers ask me, I'm teaching the child about, I don't have to also teach the parents and also teach the grandparents. Come on, they never told me this in the B.Ed program. But the point is, if I connect with the mother, I am able to peg on to what is happening. I'm able to give them a solution to that. You're over engaging with your child. If you do not have a job, If you have lost your job, is the parent child responsible? The child needs space to interact. Forget about putting everything in place. And the other is, let them also know about the child right laws. But be careful that before you break all the, there's a saying which says, do not cut the entire fence before you can erect another one. So there are very clear child right laws. If you find it's happening in a system, it's one child, we immediately need to have a PTM or a webinar where all parents have to attend. Schools have the power of seeing that all parents attend. So all parents attend, and the laws and the repercussions are clearly stated there without a particular parent being pointed there. First step. And then, if required, we go on to the other steps. But this is serious.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question is from Arvinder Kaurji. She's asking how to deal with children who have limited resources or not have access to technology, or if they get it somehow but for the limited time.
Yes. Now, these are major issues which are happening in families. That if there are three children, you need three smart technologies. And here is, now that COVID is on the decline, what we have been doing in the areas where definitely there's no smartphones, etc., is we have been trying to form connectivities, grouping of people, like the example I gave, where only one smartphone comes in at 8 in the night. So we had classes there. Is it a possibility? Again, the resource and the creativity of the education system. Can we connect this child who is in class 6 and this child who lives across the road, so they are able to connect together for classes while the other sibling who's in class 8 gets the phone for their class? That's one way of probably doing it. And at the university systems, the universities are now providing for that particular session laptops, smartphones, etc. I wonder if the school system can also do something like that. So that is only for a period of time. It's like, you loan a library book. So the technology gets loaned to a particular child. So, and of course, the education system, the school system also has ways and means of identifying which child would need that most.
Right, ma'am. Agree with you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, Mr. Suresh has asked, most of the students were addicted to online games while listening to the class. How we should control this problem as teachers?
While listening to the class, earlier when we used to have these mental health counseling issues and children, when computers just came in, laptops came in, we used to have the desktop only at that time. We used to always give the advice to parents that desktop has to be in that part of the home where it is visible to everyone. The space, the common room of the common room or the common area of the house, so that the parents, while they're going in and out, they can see this. I understand parents, the children are very super smart, but this is what I'm saying. The parents, the teachers, the grandparents have to keep upgrading themselves. PUBG could not have reached the level it reached if we, the adults, had not said, "Ki, I can't learn so much of technology, I'm old now." If I mean, the sensitization, there's so many of these games which start off with, initially they appear to be okay, so the mother is seeing that this is the game the child is seeing, and then in comes in some sort of a circle, some sort of thing which sort of is hypnotizing, and then the child goes into a wrong, then the negative or the bad games comes in. So keeping an eye on the child is a possibility only when the adults are know what is happening. And where it comes to onus now, back to the school, because parents will not have they have to have webinars for parents where there has to be some sort of activity and catch them young is what I say. The younger parents, you will be able, we know it. The PTM attendance was always higher for the younger classes than for the senior classes. By grade 12th, you could not get the parents there. If the parents wanted to come, the children wouldn't let them come. Isn't it? This is what used to happen. So please, we need to start this off and see that the parents, but you can't train them at the level where they can start using the technology. They may not start using the technology, but we need to be able to train them to the level where they are aware. It's like I do not know how to do YouTube streaming, but I have a clear enough idea about how it is done. So comes in the idea of how you sensitize your parents and grandparents and the community around you, and keep checks through that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, Miss Rupali has asked what should be included in chanting which is not taken as religious activity.
May I again, please, could you get back the question again?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Rupali Srivastav has asked what
Hmm.
should be included in chanting which is
Hmm.
not taken as religious activity.
Uh, in a country like ours, it's very difficult, and it has to. The answer to this is a difficult answer, and there's a difference between spirituality. Again, comes in the point of at the education system. Are we able to, and for the next generation to come in, are we able to make our young um, a young population understand the difference between spirituality and religiosity? And from there will come in the changes that hopefully we could have later on. That's one point. And this is a question which needs to be answered at the different locality levels and per the constitution of the country.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Ma'am, there is one last question by Mr. Suneet. Uh, he's asking, how can we ensure maximum participation of students in online classes?
Maximum participation of students is, the other day there was a class that was going on, and what a wonderful teacher, you know, good. And this was a class where I think the youngest would be at least 30 plus, and I think the teacher was younger than majority of the participants. He was able to get every participant to pick up a point, talk on that point, and the participants were interacting. And then he was concluding the whole thing and putting it in the chat box as using the chat box as a blackboard. End of the question, somebody said, it was a wonderful class. And you had to see the number of people who said, हाँ बहुत सारा सीखा हमने. We learned a lot from your class. Your classes, we always learn a lot. And the interesting part was that he said, yes, 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 yes. You people do such a good job and whatever. But the point was, who was actually giving the information? He was only helping in the construction of knowledge. He was not giving information. But his ability to elicit through his questioning skills from the participants, from his students, was amazing. So once we do this, reach that level of child centeredness learning and child centered learning, then we will be able to get more and more participation. They should look excited. They should be excited, All your narratives have to be so wonderful. I can never forget my geography teacher who would come into the class and say, "Today I will tell you about my summer vacation." You know what? And he had a dog called Sheru. And you know what? With Sheru, I went up and I went to this place. Then I went to this, and we reached the Himalayas. And I was wearing the same shoes. And in the meantime, there were these trees with it like this, overarching, and then ultimately they became conical trees, and he would go on. It took me many years to realize that he had never gone there. But he taught us about the different types of trees and the different type of fauna which moves and changes as the altitude changes. So if I, how do I do this? Is so asking so much out of me. But this is the best way of getting them engaged.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely, we will take your suggestions. One question is there, ma'am. I think we should take this definitely. Ms. Varsha Gupta has asked suggestions solicited for the mental well-being of hard-pressed teachers in these tough times.
You know, we are the unsung warriors. We can't even say, when you have the frontline warriors, they are actually, their lives are at stake, but our mental health is at stake. So we can't even say that. But like we said, we choose to be in this profession because this is what we love to do. Reach out. But having said that, we need to find me time. Going back to the aeroplane example, what the air hostess says at that point is, first put the mask on yourself. We need to have me time. We need to have off digital device time. We need to have family time. Until unless we do this, we will not be able to reach out. So sometimes we need to be able to not be a perfectionist, because if we are multitasking at these difficult times, sometimes we will not be perfectionists. I have to give time to myself. And that's why I need that chat where I put it down that this time is off. Switch off that mobile. It's required. And also get the students' delegation of responsibilities to your students. Certain amount of assignments can be interactively done, checked, evaluated, and then evaluated by you. And I know it's very difficult when they're evaluating it, you need it's more work done. I understand. But we need to find those spaces for being able to delegate responsibilities to others. I cannot do everything.
Yes, ma'am. Agree to you, ma'am. One question is from Miss Kritika, special educator. She's asking, how can we make one-on-one sessions, special education specifically, more and more effective and efficient for children with special needs?
Um, Delegation of responsibilities. There has to, I know, the parents are overworked, the family members are overworked, the siblings are overworked. But can we have some way in which, as a special educator, me also being part of the system, I feel only I can do the best. Yes, I can do the best. I'm trained. But being able to do the best or not being able to do anything. There has to be something in between now. So can I make the parent also feel that they are special educators? So there are different layers of special educators. Like we say, teacher as a counselor and then the other person. So the teacher knows that I am not a counselor, but I am taking on the responsibilities of some of the counseling responsibilities. We never say the teacher is a counselor as a counselor. So can we have something like this? Other is, if we have parents, can we have COVID time is going away a little bit? 2 or 3 children with disability. One is difficult to handle enough. One understands that. But maybe 2, where one mother is able to, can we have some linkages? Just experiment at the micro level. Get it documented. Make a YouTube how one mother with the special educator on the other end of the screen is managing, getting the parent, one mother, to manage 2. Right? Then the next day, the other mother is doing that. I know it is very difficult because every child with special needs is so different. Even our children with the so-called non-special needs, everyone has special needs, are different, but these are so different. So I can answer your question only to that extent. Nothing can replace the offline one-to-one sessions, but we are in difficult times.
Agree, ma'am. Totally agree to you. Thank you, ma'am. Principal, ma'am, would you like to add on something?
No, I totally agree with the intensity that ma'am has deliberated on. And certainly, I do agree, ma'am, that times are very tough, but then we are tougher and we have to carry on the task that we've been assigned and that we have chosen. And so all children are special and each one of have their own requirements and we are all multitasking, but we have to I think very important is understand our own place in this entire scenario, the we being chosen ones to take care of this entire task. And secondly, we have to maintain our own mental well-being, very very important, our own sense of self-worth, very very important, and to keep having confidence and belief in ourselves and keep fostering and endeavoring to um, make lives better for ourselves as well as for our children. That's all I believe. And I think one needs to also do some practices, as you highlighted, about meditation and watching your own breath, because times are very stressful. We are all working 24/7, all of us. But then we have to take care of ourselves and work as counselors, as even parents. I often say to all our student teachers that जिस तरीके से आप चाहते हैं कि आपके बच्चों के ऊपर ध्यान दिया जाए या आपको पढ़ाया जाए, बिल्कुल उसी तरह का ध्यान आपको अपने क्लास में स्टूडेंट्स को भी देना है. There has to be no difference between your own children. They are your own children. So I feel that, and I am totally in agreement of what ma'am says. That so that's all, just to carry forward. And thank you, ma'am, for your valuable inputs. So yes, Pratibha ma'am.
So when the times are tough, the tough get going.
Am- yes. Yes, ma'am. And we are receiving so wonderful comments in the chat box. It is full of praises for you, and everybody is liking the session. And the session was really so interactive and enriching. They have really liked the session a lot. So I, on behalf of the whole, yes, ma'am. I, on behalf of the whole AI family and the entire teaching community, first of all, spread my most sincere thanks to the Lord God for the smooth conduct of today's session of this 1 week online faculty development program, because that is very important, ma'am. We have so many technical glitches every day. We face so many problems. So when the session goes on smoothly, we feel that we are blessed today. So I would like to thank Dr. Renu Malviya ma'am, the keynote speaker of today's session, who gave her vital time from her busy schedule to grace this session. I am sure, ma'am, your insightful thoughts with such informative session would be very beneficial to the whole teaching fraternity. Further, I mention my sincere gratitude to Dr. Tanya Gupta, Principal AIE, for her constant support and guidance throughout the FDP. I would like to place my hearty thanks to all the esteemed participants, because of whom we made this faculty development program possible. I also want to thank our technical support, Mr. Manoj Kumar, for his cooperation in conducting the sessions of this online faculty development program. Thank you once again, everyone. Our nation's culture resides in the hearts and in the soul of its people. And when we all stand and sing our national anthem, it makes us proud. I request everyone to please rise for the national anthem.
I've just been communicated by our technical staff. There is some issue with playing the video. So I think we can all very proudly stand and sing the national anthem.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
जन
ma'am. Please
गण
do that.
मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा उद्भुतल जलधिका तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत माता जय हे जय हे जय हे
Thank you, everyone, for another interesting session. Kindly join us tomorrow at the same time. Thank you once again. Jai Hind.